So ignore the watch just for a second and focus instead on what might be ticking away behind that dial. Let me give you a clue. It took 3 years of development with the aim of producing a reliable and accurate movement that could be easily swapped with the ETA 2824-2, but in this instance was not a direct clone. The manufacturer? Soprod. The movement? The P092, aka the Newton. The relevance to the Serica 5303? Well, it was the cause of much controversy, and it hit Serica's reputation pretty hard when it all exploded. Essentially, the early versions of this watch with the Newton were plagued with issues when operating the crown. There was issues with hacking, with time setting. I don't want to spend too much time going over old ground here because, to be honest with you, I think it's been done to death. I actually quite like Serica as time has moved forward. I think their current range of watches are stunning to look at. The brand is very friendly and easy to speak to in my experience, although obviously I believe they could have handled the Newton issues a little bit better at the time. What I really want to focus on today instead is where is the Soprod Newton in 2025 and what is it like buying a Serica 5303 with this infamous movement in the back of it on the used market, because that's exactly what I've done. Even though I specifically said in my own video a couple of years ago I wouldn't buy this watch with this movement because I felt it was too high risk to spend such a large sum of money and essentially have a faulty watch. So what's changed? Well, let's go straight into it, and today, unsurprisingly, we're going to focus a lot of the talk around the Newton. So the dust has settled on Serica Gate, and to be honest with you, I have heard nothing but positive things about Serica's newer releases, recent customer service, and I would like to think the brand has learned some lessons from the issues at the launch of the 5303. When I spoke to them at the Vancouver Timepiece show and probably annoyed them a little bit by bringing up the issues with the Newton, I guess it's a little bit of a painful memory for them. They did try and play it down a little bit and said the amount of movements with major issues was lower than you might think based on the internet coverage. Really, Serica's biggest mistake in this whole debacle looking back was just the pause on warranty support for movement repair and replacement, and the email infamous now about the issues being a feature. But it makes me wonder if Serica was the fool guy for Soprod on this occasion, because if I remember rightly at the time, and even watching my own video back, everything was pretty much directed at Serica, but it was Soprod who were the manufacturer and designer of the movement, who had 3 years to make something great, and for whatever reason, whether that was an issue with scaling up and mass producing, a miscalculation, or just a fundamental design error, they got it wrong. I think Soprod should definitely take a large portion of the blame for Serica Gate. I hope they at least compensated them well for all of the issues that they caused. So why has my own opinion softened on this watch? And why would I not just go out and buy the newer Serica 5303, which has the M100 movement, a tried and tested and reliable workhorse with official COSC chronometer certification? Well, it's a good question. The answer is it's 2,500 Canadian dollars, which is more than I'm willing to spend. And actually, on the used market, there's some reasonably good offers. I should also mention that 2,500 Canadian would be subject to import duties and taxes, so who knows what the price would actually be at my doorstep. Now, through one of the watch clubs here in Canada, I met a lovely guy called Patrick, who happened to have this Serica 5303 for sale. It's 3 years old, so of course it has the Newton. It's a one owner, he bought it directly from Serica. And I suppose I felt confident to buy it where I wouldn't normally, because I had a lot of discussion with Patrick. I had videos of the watch on a time grapher. We spoke about the movement issues, and I was confident this one would arrive at least without the minutes hand moving around and the backward setting. I had confidence in the owner, and I think that's probably the best way to buy one of these watches, because some of the prices are attractive, but I do think you should do your research and make sure you're comfortable with the person that you're buying from. I don't know how many Newtons had major issues, and I don't know how many would still be awaiting repair. Now, I mentioned the new 5303 is officially COSC chronometer certified. Now this is interesting because the Newton is also offered with chronometer certification. Now it wasn't when it was launched in this Serica, but it is now, and Mk.1 and Formex both offer chronometer certified Newton movements. So it's interesting, the Newton is still going strong, maybe not as strong as it would have been without the controversy, but they seem to have fixed the issues. I couldn't find any complaints for either of these brands with the Newton movement. And accuracy seems to be a real strong point with the Newton. This watch is 3 years old, and just look on the time grapher here, it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm gaining about a second per day. I'm sure this would easily get chronometer status, and for a 3-year-old watch the amplitude is excellent, so it's very, very healthy. If I didn't know the troubled history, I would just think this is a brilliant movement. And whilst this one is running beautifully, it's not immune from the Newton issues. So where does this watch let me down? Well, it's actually with hacking. So when I pull the crown out, one click to the time setting position, maybe 1 in every 5 times, the seconds hand will keep on ticking. I can still set the time, but it just doesn't seem to engage the hacking function correctly, as you'll see on the video. Without being a watchmaker and knowing the specifics, I feel like the crown has to be exactly in a certain position within that click to engage the hacking function, and that's where the issues lie, at least on this watch. I'm assuming they fixed it in the newer revisions used by other brands. Hey, just a quick note to say, if you're enjoying today's video on the Serica, please don't hesitate to like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any more videos. Anyway, back to the watch. The Newton is an interesting movement because when it works as designed and as intended, it is brilliant. It's a really good alternative to an ETA 2824. It's just a shame that it was such a mess at the start, and I also can't find the exact cause of the issues. I have tried to do some research on the internet, but there's not a lot out there. I guess it's all kept very hush-hush within Soprod's walls. Now we can talk a little bit about the watch just in general. It's 38.5mm in diameter, it's 12mm thin, 20mm lug width, 300 meters of water resistance for such a small head on the watch, 46mm lug to lug, and of course a lovely bit of sapphire on the top. It's compact and it wears great, and of course with this lovely silky smooth mesh, it's incredibly comfortable on my 17.5cm wrist. In terms of fit and finish, it feels like its price tag. It was around $1,300 when it launched, and it feels just like that when it's in the hand. My favorite thing about this watch, and the reason that I really fell in love with it when it came out, is the design. I think it is just a beautiful and timeless bit of design work from Serica, and I really think that's one of the brand's strengths. Yes, there's lots of inspiration from past watches, particularly some vintage Omegas, but it really does stand on its own 2 feet as a unique design. It's also very functional. I mean, the bezel with the split between the dual time or the diving timer, I mean, I don't remember seeing that too much before this watch came out. I know it's a lot more popular now. I might be wrong, but I feel like the 5303 really popularized the split bezel. And of course, what matters most is telling the time, and that crisp porcelain white dial really is fantastic, and a step up from the Homage, by the way, which I also owned. Along with those black hands, I mean, yeah, it's incredibly legible, and normally I like to have a date, but this time I think the symmetry and the lack of a date window does actually enhance the design. I love the fact that Serica don't have a big logo at the top of the dial. They just have Serica Swiss around the minute track at the 6 o'clock, and that leaves you with an almost sterile dial. The crown is slightly oversized, which makes it super easy to operate, apart from, of course, when you want to move it between the different positions, but that's the movement that's not so much on Serica. The parts they were responsible for, I think they did a really good job with. We haven't spoken about the lume. It's relatively decent, it's nothing groundbreaking. My camera flatters it a little bit. I would actually say to the human eye, the Proxima is a little bit brighter, but it's good enough for me to get a read on the time when I wake up after a night of sleep. So long as my Newton doesn't deteriorate any further, and I just have this very minor hacking issue, then I'm really happy with this watch. I'm really enjoying it. I'm very pleased with the experience I'm going to have for the money that I paid. Time is a healer, and when it comes to the Serica 5303 and the brand in general, I think I can safely say I'm ready to forgive and forget. Let's move on. So there we have it then. In 2025, I believe you can buy a Newton powered 5303 and have a great experience. The Soprod Newton lives on in other brands as a highly accurate and well-regarded movement without any complaints. And Serica have, I think, rebuilt a lot of their reputation that was lost from the 5303, at least from my perspective. So hopefully it was interesting to look back at this one. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts and feelings are on purchasing one of these watches with the Newton movement. Let me know any experiences that you have. Maybe you have one of the original 5303s still going strong. I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love to hear what you think about Serica in 2025. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far, and hopefully I will catch you on the next video. Cheers.